Wow, you guys are in for a special treat today, man. There's not two of us here today. There's actually three of us, and we didn't know that this would be the topic of conversation tonight. We knew it might be, but we are here in the man cave having a crazy experience with Cedric Edison and his newborn son, Mosiah. Oh my gosh!
What's up, y'all?
First baby we've had in the cave, right?
Yeah, first baby. That's right. The first baby we got in the cave. Oh, look at him holding his head up. What's up, y'all, man? And
So yeah, so
man, I'm so
we've explored fatherhood previously, actually kind of early on in our podcast, and we have a little bit different flavor now with Cedric and kind of experiencing what he's got in his arms right now. So Cedric, obviously you've got some things going on in your life. Let's hear some shares on what's going on with you right now.
well. This is one man trying to figure it. There you go, but trying to figure this all out. You know, this is my first kid, man. 38 years. Um, you know, I'm glad it happened at this point. Um, But man, it's just a big ball of emotions at this point, man. Just it's all surreal. Like, man, I got a mini me here. Um, like, just reflecting back over my life, like, man, such a good point for me to have them. Um, because like if you're a returning listener, y'all kind of know parts of my story, being a gang member and all that stuff, and now doing a complete 180, being a coach and just kind of thinking about all the good, quote unquote, good stuff I get to teach them, and just hoping I do teach them the right things and hope he hang on to it. Like, man, just wondering, what's going through his little mind and gonna go through it.
Well, if he was
I don't know, man.
even a fraction of the man you are, he's going to be amazing in his own life. So he's got good things happening for him around him to really keep him on that straight and narrow.
Yeah.
So Cedric, I'm interested, how long ago, when you kind of look back, would you have to say where you wouldn't even thought that this was even possible? Because, we sometimes talk about, what's probable, what's possible, and what's impossible. So of those three, and you now have your son in your arms there, how long ago did you have a much different disposition on if this was possible or probable or impossible in your life?
Well, I knew it was possible when I had my first scare, of somebody telling me I might be.
Yeah.
But as I got older, especially, after my divorce and all of that, I was like, man, I had actually got pretty comfortable and content with not having a kid. I was like, well, maybe, it's not meant for me to have a kid. And, he wasn't playing. So he just kind of snuck up, so it wasn't like he was a planned thing, like, well, let's do this. So, the reality is I knew it was all possible. and yeah, it's just crazy because like I said, man, I never thought it would happen because I'm like, you're 31, you're like, no, nothing, 34, nothing, 36, nothing. And you're like, oh, hell, I'm almost 40 years old. It's not going to happen. I'm good. And then it's like, oh, hey, I took a
test. Bingo.
Right?
It's interesting because you brought that up about, being 31 years old and not thinking about having a child, or, sometimes we don't know if that's something in our future. And I was kind of that same way. My wife and I were married 20 years before we had my son, and we had a great life, and we obviously still have a great life, but I think it's just a different experience, whether you have kids, don't have kids, it's just how you choose to respond, or kind of allow yourself to enjoy a different type of life. Because I think there are those that don't have kids that have amazing lives, and I don't necessarily think that they're needing to feel like they're missing out on something. I think as a father, I couldn't imagine not going through this process and not having the experience of this, kind of being a father. Mm-hmm. But, I think that's because I'm in it, right? So if I was not married, if I was not in a situation where I had a child today, would I feel like something is not complete about my life? And I would say no for me, because I think that's, it's a different life experience, something that we, kind of choose to do, or happens in our life, and we accept the good and the bad as far as what we'd like to have. Sometimes people really try hard and are never able to have kids, and others have a 12-pack of kids. I can imagine that. Right. Having, multiplying Mosiah by 12 and dealing with that. So so
we thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, so what challenges do you kind of anticipate early on for you as a new father and this new adventure that you're on?
Say, man, like for me, like right now, it's some of the silly shit, dude. My dad and them, like you just met my dad and them, or for y'all that's listening, my pops and them was just here, and we just kind of laughing, like, man, and because it was never my thing, and I'll get to that and I'll make it make sense, but it was never my thing to have kids. Right. I wasn't one of those guys like, man, I gotta continue my legacy, carry on my last name. Just like, hell, if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't.
Right.
But man, I never changed the diaper. Like literally, like till I still have not changed his diaper yet. So it's little stuff like that. Like, okay, I gotta learn how to, change it. I know you get it, and I'm gonna have to play the dodging game from the TP, all that good stuff. But initially, like right now, I don't know if every parent goes through it, trying to figure, like I'm worried, like how's the scheduling gonna work? How's the childcare gonna work? Mm-hmm. Like what the hell does that look like? Not being there, we fear the unknown, and I'm fearful of that. Right. Because she's gonna be out from work and got the move. It's like, yeah, that's really it now. Just kind of thinking about how his day-to-day primary care is gonna look like. Right.
Yes.
And changing diapers.
Because you could prepare all you think you as best you think you can, and then things come up, right? Just you don't kind of calculate out what it's going to look like in the budget. The other thing that kind of gets, I wouldn't say overlooked, but you really kind of lose sight of is just your own time. I remember when Anthony was young, we would so look forward to his nap time. It's like, oh God, I've got a half hour, an hour just to kind of be disconnected and then have some alone time and just relax. And then it's like, seems like every time, you're going to be dozing off and you hear that cry. And the challenge is, because we went through, early on of just that tough, evenings where, it was either a cry of, I really need something because I'm uncomfortable, or come on, I need you guys to come in and comfort me because I'm, lonely. And, it's that willingness to kind of gauge, when do I go in and tend to my son, versus that tough decision to say, I need to create that, kind of that a little bit of separation to where he's able to comfortably fall back asleep, and I'm not creating that habit of every time he cries, I'm going in there. And that's a tough one, because, you want to, especially early on, you're not completely aware of what that cry might mean. So I'd be interested in, a few weeks from now to kind of see how those things kind of come into your life, to see how you're responding, because, it's each situation with, being a parent is different, and we all kind of have an idea of what we'd like to do, but then we're in the moment and we're like, oh, what do I do? He's like, I don't know if he needs me or doesn't need me, and I don't want him to, it's like life today, right? Same issues that we have now of, do my life, does he like me, or does he want me to be, same type of thing.
Yeah, and I hear everybody saying, you know, you figure it out, like, you know, the crowds, and see, that's like the kind of stuff, you know, I'm looking forward to, man. Uh, yeah, man, it's like golly,
Right.
and you know, like just, you know, I'm not blind or naive, you know, I've been in the world, so and I've talked to, you know, shit, you and I see it. You know, like I got brothers, you know, I'm an uncle, all of that. So I get to see what that timing looks like. It's just a matter of what it looks like once it's in your life with your schedule, um, and finances and all that good stuff. And that's another big worry of mine, you know, it's like trying to get my company to where, you know, I have the big picture of it. And, you know, it's a lot of work, you know, trying to grow your company. And I'm trying to, well, I really wouldn't even say trying to right now because, you know, I mean, like right now I'm in the hospital. So, which, you know, is like cool because it's comforting, you know, being able to say that and still be able to commit to you and the show and other clients. Cause I'm like, wow, this is why I do it, to be free. You know, like my child is born, but I'm still present in the moment because of what I do, you know, what we have. So I'm not too worried about it because, you know, that's what we all trying to do, you know, work on to get to that place to where you just live and not worried. But those little pieces that are there, I mean, that's kind of what they look like. Like, man, all right, well, when am I going to have time to grab a book, you know, because I've been thinking about it now. Like, I want to, that's fun. Yeah, like I said, I'm here with it. So y'all getting to see the authentic.
It is what it is, right? We're not
yeah, y'all getting so yeah, it's, you know, just knowing, like, man, because I've been trying to grab a book here and there, and it's just been chaotic. And when you don't have a kid or a child, that's what you think, you know, is once you have it, that it's chaotic. And it's really not that crazy right now. It's just, oh, okay, I just don't necessarily have the time. And it's just, what is it going to look like? How am I going to be able to find time? Like, and really it's just going to be a matter of, which is actually pretty good. Like everybody say, man, your whole perspective changes. And I can really, really see that about to happen because now I'm going to have to look at my schedule and everything that I'm doing and prioritize it different.
Right.
You know, because I know my time is going to be cut because it's like, oh, okay, well, I got to possibly go get him and, oh, well, she's going to work and I got to do this or I got a client at this time. Like, what is that? So now I got to prioritize everything a little differently, you know, so.
Which is kind of, I guess, good in a certain respect to where you're not too deep into, not that you wouldn't want to be, but deeper into your coaching career where you've already kind of inundated with, you know, these clients you're going to get and have to then kind of shut down and scale back versus you're kind of moving into this, you know, version of being a father, being a coach, you know, being a boyfriend, you know, being a son, you know, being a partner and all those things and creating that balance. And I think it's, you know, although there's some challenges, I think probably a good learning opportunity for you to really see where your time is spent now and how those little, it's going to be more strategic on where you can fit in certain things because, you know, we all still need some me time. We need some time, you know, with our friends. We need some time to kind of have some space, right? That's going to be a change. That's going to be something new in your life to really strategize on. But I think it's going to give you, you know, good tools to really move forward with, you know, your life, knowing that this is in the early stages of having not too much on your plate, but trying to really look at things you can add to the plate, but keep things, you know, in perspective as far as what's the most important.
And I never really looked at it like that when you said the scaling back or going forward. I like that. I never really. So you're right. I like that.
So you were talking about changing diapers. So it made me think of a story that I needed to share with you. So we went, Anthony and my wife and I went out to Arizona, and Anthony was probably, I don't know, 3 or 4, something like that. So he was in the back seat. And we were home. We drove back from Arizona, and we were at a gas station getting gas, and all of a sudden you smell it. It smells like you pooped your pants or something. So so we get it out, and you probably will experience this, just to give you forewarning. The poop because it had been in his pants for longer than we knew, it had kind of worked its way up his back, and it was like on his neck. So we had to like take it, because we were going to get something to eat soon after that. So we had to like take him out of the car, into the restroom, completely clean him up, put new clothes on him, and so when you brought up just the challenge of learning to change the diaper, yeah. So those types of things are just the stream that you're not waiting for him to pee when you pees on you.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Or one other one, maybe it's appropriate, maybe it's not. So I know I've shared it with Anthony. I laugh about it. He was. So we're keeping it real here, right? So I'm going to share this one too. So we were in the shower, him and I taking a shower when he was young, and he took a poop in the shower. Well, this wasn't like a little boy poop. This was like a snake. So he was like laying on the floor in the shower, and he turns around and sees it and screams like, "Ah!" So yeah, so that's all of my poop stories for today. So,
Man, I'm sure I'll have quite a few.
yeah. So how's the family doing with the new addition? How's the excitement around just the new little boy in the family?
It's crazy. Like Auntie, that's why I just passed him too. Auntie came in. She over there just going to town. Like everybody's just through the roof, man. On her side, it's just the cool thing because it's a new baby, and on my side, everybody's, it's a new baby, and plus nobody ever really thought I would have a kid. And I'm sorry, I was trying to listen in because I heard mention of drugs and stuff trying to be introduced, and yeah, and I'm like all about natural. So I was just trying to keep my ear tuned in a little bit to make sure I didn't have to tap in and be like, no, we're not doing that.
I understand. You've got a lot going on around you. So remember when we had the conversation when we talked about fatherhood, at the time we asked the question of each other, what advice would you give to somebody considering having a child? And you're at that point, you were just kind of in knowing that was going to happen, and kind of gave an answer around that. So what might you, now that you've experienced this, actual birth of your son, what might you share with an individual that's, kind of contemplating, or their girlfriend or wife is pregnant? What advice might you give them, knowing what you've, kind of been able to move through at this point with your new son?
Ooh. Well, I'm only at a certain level. I haven't had a lot of parenting experience, or just about 2 days. One, sleep. Two, man, it's so much, man, because like, I don't know, because I'm looking at her like right now, and she looks the same, but she looks different.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to go through that and take it. So, man, it takes a real man to swallow his pride. So be less prideful. Be less prideful when it comes to your mate, especially if they're with child or whatever, and start to practice it when when they are carrying a kid, because that's just going to help them be a lot healthier.
Right.
Because you hear. And again, sleep.
Right.
Sleep again, because it's not going to be like, I want to go to sleep, and you know I do when it's a healthy thing. Like I have so much experience, but I realize it's like, okay, I'm tired. What I got to do? It just feels different. Like the tired is not even tired. You know you're tired, but you're almost on autopilot.
Right.
And make sure you're in a position to do that. Don't just create a human. Be ready to commit to another human, because it's a lifetime commitment, you know.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I don't know what the percentage of, you know, young fathers that, you know, their girlfriend becomes pregnant and then they take off, right? They can't handle the circumstances and they just kind of give up, you know, on an opportunity for them to grow. I mean, I think what you're experiencing now is not just about, you know, the growth of your son and seeing that happen, but your growth, your ability to open up your heart and share that with now another person in your life that's going to need and want and expect a lot from you. And, you know, that's something that, you know, we all want in our lives. And I think, you know, for those that, you know, out there that are listening that, you know, kind of struggle with that, you know, that decision to have a child, not have a child, you know, you really, like Cedric's saying, you really have to be willing to put your whole heart and soul into it, knowing that there's going to be tough times financially, you know, your time for yourself, you know, your time for doing things with others. You know, there's a lot of sacrifices that you need to make. And I think that's what we would expect, you know, from our parents. You know, as we grew up, I think when we look back on, you know, our experiences, you know, there's probably times where we could say, yeah, our parents gave us exactly what we needed to, and we feel like there's nothing else they could have done, or maybe they weren't as, you know, conscious in their own living space to where, you know, they didn't know how to handle certain things. You know, they didn't know to comfort you when, you know, you needed comfort, or they didn't know to, you know, kind of just listen, you know, just be that the willingness to just sit there and just allow them to express themselves. And I think in this movie, especially, you know, who knows what your son's going to experience as far as the society and technology and all these things that are changing how we interact with each other, how we experience life. It'd be interesting to kind of think 20 years from now, what things you're talking to your son about that you couldn't even imagine as far as the way the world is, you know, in that shorter period of time.
Man, like, because at some point, I plan to go back. I don't know at what point, at what age, but man, if I had something for him to hear, you know, years down the road, one, I mean, if you're in wedlock, go for it. But it also has something to do with leading up to it. Because I'm sure he'll be in a society and maybe in a similar situation. Like Kanisha and I, we aren't married. So we're basically co-parenting. But I would say, like, man, straight up, if you're going to be with this woman, or not even that, if this woman has or is having a child for you and you claim to love your kid, you know, because you're probably saying or going to say, man, I'll do anything for my kid. I'll do whatever it takes for my kid. I say, remember that, because when the differences become between you and mom and you're angry and it's all this bullshit coming in, chill. Because it doesn't have to be all this bickering and fighting. And you know, I'm not saying you have to run out and go and get married. I'll be honest, to me, that's the only way. You don't have to run out and do that. will it make things better if you guys are in a relationship in all of that? Because yes, it's financially better, it's all around, and they get to see all of the different emotional things in one area versus spread. But the same way you love your mama is the same way this child loves his mama. And this is really for the, and really, man, this is me talking to those people that really resonate with me from the hood. And if this clicks with you, then great. But what I see a lot of, especially in my community, man, is people get pissed off and they break up these relationships because of some stupid ass difference that they had with the mom, and vice versa, the woman, you know, and then now she's doing all of this child support, which that's a different thing, but let's not even bring that into it, but it's all of this bickering. But then my question to each of you or whoever is listening would be back to the basic question. If you love your child and you would do anything for your child, then stop lying to me.
Right.
Because if you're not willing to be the bigger person, swallow the pride, and do what you need to do to co-parent, then you're not willing. You don't love your child the way you say you do, because you're willing to do anything for them. Right. So, and that's a part of it, is to accept this other human being's thoughts and whatever it is, you know.
Right.
And you know, you might say, well, there's two sides to every story. Yes, there is. But what can you change about your side to help create a different side from the other person?
Right.
So that would be my thing to Mosiah. Like, if he heard this, like, man, if you don't have a kid or a child and you love them the way you say you love them and you'll do anything for them, remember that when the times get hard. Right. Because that anything that you may need to do may be the one thing that you feel like going to make you less of a man.
Right.
You know, so do that thing, because it's going to take a bigger man to step up to the plate and do the things that are hard for him in order for his family to progress.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense, but I kind of just got on one. I just kind of lost it for a second, man. But
it's perfect. Yeah, I think for me, I think it's just that willingness to, a couple things. One, to realize life can be hard, right? I mean, there's tough things that you have to work through, and I think unfortunately people are more willing to take the easy way out and end a relationship or not be fully into a relationship because it doesn't serve them exactly what they are, you know, feel like they need in their life. And I think it's unfortunate because, you know, that's where the growth opportunity is, that there's a disagreement. I think it's how you look at it. Is this now a challenge that we can work on together to resolve, or is this something that we can easily, you know, put a wedge between us to identify how we're different? We can accept certain things and have an argument or a discussion about something that we can both respect what each other has to say. And you know, in a parenting situation, that happens all the time, right? I mean, my wife and I don't always see eye to eye on how, you know, we're going to do certain things with Anthony in our lives, but there's sometimes that willingness to give and take. You know, it's like I can respect that decision. I think you make good decisions, and I'm going to go with that. Versus, well, no, you're not going to do it my way, so, you know, then I'm out of here. I'm just going to give up and not even help out because it's not what I wanted to do. So, you know, I'm going to go pout in my room and be the victim. Versus, this isn't about me. This is about our commitment to a child that we decided to, or didn't decide to bring in this world, but is now in our life. And how do we best give that individual all that they need to come from a place of love, come from a place of connection? You know, we decided, you know, to go down a road where the result is going to be this or that, right? And then we're like going to say, well, no, that's not what we wanted to have happen, but So just the fact that we didn't want it to have happened, I don't hold responsibility for it. I mean, I think that's a pretty cowardly thing to do versus, I've been married 32 years and could I sit here and tell you that having a child and the challenges we've had with, that whole experience has been easy? No, there's daily things that come up that are challenging. There's things that have been, kind of not issues over time, but, there's some variances as far as what we feel is important to, kind of instill in him from a man's perspective and from a woman's perspective. And I think there's that willingness to honor two different points of view based on their own experience and really give that value, not just downplay it and not give it the attention that it needs, because we all want that, right? When we explain ourselves to others that are, listening into what we have to say, we don't want that quick judgment of, well, that's not the right way, or you need to think of it this way because this is the way I was told how to do it, and you need to think that same way. I think that just makes for a relationship that just is going to then teach that child the same way of dealing with things that we do. And you can see that very much positive and negatively. When I look at Anthony, he's 13 years old, but there's those great things that he's kind of gained from us and who we are as a woman and a man in his life, my wife and I. But there's also those things we could say, well, there's some things that we have not done a good job on, but we need to just be mindful of what we can do to maybe give him some different outlook or different stimuli or different way of kind of not keeping that as being something that he's going to get stuck on. It's a challenge, right? Because we're always trying to work on ourselves and be the best person we can be. Now we've got a child that needs that same direction, and you've got an infant that's just bringing in everything possible around him, just sucking it all in. Like, this is my experience. There's nothing. There's every little second is brand new for him. But they're aware. They're looking at you. They're identifying their environment. They're starting to, and eventually they start understanding and taking in their own impression of things, and they hear us talking about things, and they start developing their own opinions and values and all these things. So it happens pretty quickly. I mean, it's not something that takes 14 years of parenting to see how your efforts kind of play out in your child's life.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow.
I mean, just who would have thought that you would be sitting here on a podcast talking about your amazing son, Mosiah?
I know, just like for real, looking over here, like, wow.
And we talked about that, right? We talked about, and I shared that with my wife today. I said, it'd be fun to look at some point in our lives where Anthony and Mosiah are that next version of the Man Cave, because there's a similarity as far as our age group difference. And there's obviously that similar, that age difference between the two of them. So kind of a cool thing to think about someday.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So how's Mama doing? Mama doing okay?
Oh yeah, she good. She's tired.
And you brought this up earlier, just what amazing things that women can do. I think we, as men, we don't sometimes give them the credit that they deserve for the pain and the carrying around of a child and just the changing of the body, the hormones, and all these things that go into giving birth to a child. And we just, as men, we just kind of enjoy the result of it to a certain extent versus that whole process that goes into the development and just that connection of the mother to the child, before they come out of the womb, and just that whole, like, here I am, hi Dad.
Yeah. And I think I realized, over the past couple of days, like that mother's bond with the child, and probably why moms get so pissed off in the teen years when
Right.
Like, you know what, damn it, I labored for over 72 hours. This is how you gonna treat me?
Right.
Oh man, so that was going through. I was like, wow, this is where that bond is, and and then for us, it's like, wow, just being able to see like that came out of me into her, and that's what was created. It's like, wow, but they get to feel them and experience them the whole time, and I was just thinking, the whole time I was like, wow, man, for that type of love, it's a messed up payoff that we have to, give the universe back, which is not much, you're losing sleep and, for me, and just that male ego, I just felt helpless. Like there's nothing you can do to help. And that's a very humbling thing. And, they're sitting there in agony and, sometimes it crosses your mind like, shit, I'm sorry. My bad. I didn't mean to put you in this situation. I'm sorry. I wish I could take it.
Right.
And then they're like going through the worst thing in life. It's just, but man, is at the end of the day, like it's worth it. Like I'll give up that amount of sleep any day to feel what I'm feeling right now. Every time I look at him, it may be different when he's 16 and I look over at him like, oh.
And he's flipping you off.
Yeah, I pray we never get there, but how I was a teenager.
Yeah.
How they can get sometimes.
I think I told you.
Yeah, man, I'll do it any day to feel that.
Yeah. I think I shared with you the story of Anthony when he was probably, he was probably maybe 6 or 7, something like that. And we were in the kitchen and I was washing dishes or something in the kitchen, and I turned around and he's looking at me and he's like this. And he's like, so right when he did it, he had this look of shock on my face and he started crying because he knew it meant something. He's sitting there flipping me off, but he didn't know what it meant. And I just I couldn't do anything other than just give him a big hug and just say, don't worry about it, man. He was just expressing himself. He knew it was something. Maybe he was just trying to get some attention or whatever it was, but fuck you, Dad.
Wow.
Like you're saying, at some point, when they get older, you start having conversations about that. And it's just a cool kind of revisiting some of those moments that are just laughable, that he's able to kind of look back at kind of who how he acted as a child. I mean, he'll watch the videos of him when he was little, and he just cracks up, and he just experiencing himself, and he was trying to get the next cookie. He's like, I want another cookie, and he wouldn't get the cookie, and I want a cookie.
Oh man, that was funny.
Those moments, because you think about those monumental things when they first start walking or they first start talking, or those things are all amazing things to experience. But it's also just those little stories, like I told you about the poop stories, that are just equally as funny just to talk about and reminisce about, and I guess share with certain people you feel comfortable. Now that I'm putting it out on YouTube, but
right.
It was funny you were saying about that mother-son bond, and I remember my dad always kind of, and he was kind of like me, being that practical joker, kind of smart ass humor, but he would always get offended. At least it seemed like he was offended about when the football players would, they do on the camera, they'd always say, "Hi, Mom," and he's like, "Why don't they ever say like, hi, Dad?" It's like, come on, man. It's like they have that bond with their mom, and that's where it's brought them into this world, and the connection that they have for hopefully for the rest of their life, just that genuine, kind of unique, undescribable bond that they've had since they were conception.
Yeah. It's definitely a bond, man.
Yes.
Well, man.
Well, this has been
Any
an awesome.
last words or anything, man?
Yeah, been an interesting conversation we weren't expecting to necessarily have. I think when you kind of said, "Hey, let's go ahead and record tonight," I wasn't expecting that, but what an awesome treat for me to see Mosiah, for to meet Kanisha on the podcast, also to meet your dad, which was incredible. But I think this episode is a little bit unique for us because this is probably for us one of those more self-serving, kind of things that Cedric and I will probably remember for the rest of our lives. Just kind of sharing this experience of having a son. For the listeners, maybe this might be something that you are going to go through at some point in your life. Maybe something you're considering, going through at some point in your life, or not. But I think why we do this conversation the way we have, putting it out there, is to just share, just having just a unique, vulnerable, authentic conversation around things that go on in our lives. And sometimes those are topics that resonate with us. Sometimes there's these experiences that we want to share as well. We don't always have an agenda coming into this to speak to a topic. Sometimes it's just how we're feeling that particular day. And I think this is just a day that I feel so blessed to be in Cedric's life and to be a part of this journey of him and his family, and Mosiah, just what amazing little boy he's going to be, and just be able to, from day one, to be a part of his life and share this with anybody listening out there. So thank you so much for bearing with us and sticking, allowing us to share in this experience together.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all spending the time with us. It is a little different. It was just kind of not impromptu, but it was no agenda, just using the space that we created, honestly, to let Ron see, to meet Mosiah, and so you guys got a treat there. You all got to meet them all at the same time. So, man, appreciate y'all hanging in there. Yeah, man, all I can think of as parting words is swallow pride, and be willing to do the hard stuff to make the family work. Yeah, man. Well, I'm just ready to go back over there and smell on them and feel them, and I'm like, it's my turn now.
Yes. Well, Cedric, as always, I appreciate your time and enjoy it. Like I said, every second of his life is just so valuable, and I think just share in all of your glory with your family, and lots of hugs and kisses to everybody.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I will. And man, appreciate you being in my life, man, and sharing this moment. And man, I guess that's it till next time, huh? Next week. All right. Hey, love y'all. Love you, Ron.
All right.
Namaste.
Namaste.